have quite the topic for you guys today. If you watch my Periscope channel normally, you know that I am Sara Boinkin. I am a mental health counselor, and I scope during the weekdays on counseling, and in the evenings we do crazy fun scopes because life's about balance. Hey Annie, welcome. Hey, and Blossom your soul, I follow you as well. What's up, guys? Good to see you. Thank you guys for the hearts. Thank you for providing value to my day today. I'm going to do my best to provide value to you guys as well. And we are going to get started very shortly. I do. Thank you, Annie. Okay, so today's topic, holistic supplementation for mind, body, and spirit. And that was not a typo. I did mean to spell holistic like that because I think it has a lot to do with whole in all three of those areas. And before I start, those of you who are new to me, where are you guys tuning in from? Hey, Coached by Courtney. Thank you for the shout out and the love. And where are you guys tuning in from? Thanks, Tim. Lots of love, guys. In Aussie, hey, and Melbourne, so it's the middle of the night for you guys, and I did try to say that right, Kim. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. All right, guys, I want to add value to you, so we are going to get started. Hey, from Finland, what is up? And I did just friend you on Facebook, I believe, because I was really moved by your topic a few weeks ago. So if you guys are new to this topic, I'm not going to try to go over too much what we already discussed on Blab the other day with Fabian. Hello in Brazil. Hi, New York City. What is up, guys? Hey, PJ. All right, guys. A lot of friendly faces I'm seeing in here. Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad your son's watching, Annie. All right, guys. So I wanted to thank you guys for being here. If you want to swipe and share, invite followers, I would love to have those followers. I am new to the Parapreneurs Network. I was fortunate enough to meet Ricky when we were at the summit in San Francisco, which, by the by, I did not know about. I learned from other scopers who were there after they had already arrived and decided that maybe I was going to try to break in. So I did, and I'm so happy that I did because I made some really awesome connections as a result. And I do promise that if I go in the future, I will pay for it. But it was really incredible to see that community and the cohesion. So my name is Sara Boinkin. I am a licensed mental health counselor, as I was telling you guys, originally from Phoenix, moved to the Bay Area about 7 months ago. And I'm going to tell you about my story with my new business that I'm starting up and why it's important for me to have cohesiveness in all of those areas, mind, body, and spirit. So I wanted to talk all the way back about when I started having issues with my own mental well-being and you know, just troubles with developing as a young adult. So that was probably my teenage years. And I love this topic because as a mental health counselor, I resonate very well with other teenagers because really those are our formative years where we're trying to figure out our place in the world. Thank you, Evan, for sharing on Facebook. My husband's on here, you guys, too, so I gotta make sure that I keep it PG. No, I'm just kidding. So when I was 13, I had a very serious health issue. Fortunately, it's since been recovered, but I went into the doctor, and at this time I had noticed that I was very petite, but I noticed that my stomach started to become engorged, and I thought with my naivete at that time that it was because I was becoming fat. So I did my very best to cover up in big baggy clothing, and this worked in all settings except when I was at the roller skating rink because I grew up as a roller figure skater. If you guys were watching the Blab the other day, you know that I love to rhythm skate. So when I got into those little skating dresses, that's when the rumors started. And the rumors at the time, me being only 13 years old, were that I was pregnant. Well, if that was true, I should have been informed because I felt like, you know, I was Mary and I was having the second coming or something because I did not know. So, and you guys will notice I like to throw in humor with my stories too, because I think it's an excellent coping mechanism, and I've worked through all of these things. So, so at that time, I was hiding behind large clothing. My mom was a nurse, and of course, that was the time in my life that I started being extremely private, in covering up and not wanting my parents to see me. And my bedroom doors started getting shut quite often. So we had gone into the doctor because I actually had strep throat. And while we were there, the doctor felt my stomach and he asked me, "Is your belly always this hard?" I got very quiet, and what it turned out happening was that there was actually a cyst that was growing on my ovary. I went in for an ultrasound, and oddly enough at this time, they were going to have me stay away from a trip that my family was taking to Disney World, so that upset me quite a bit. But the doctor told me I could go, provided I didn't go on any rides that pregnant women couldn't go on. So while I was at the park, actually, a girl in line at Nickelodeon Studios did come up and approach me and ask me if I was pregnant. So this just perpetuated my issues with, my self-image and body. So at that time, I ended up having surgery, and what they discovered was that I had a 9-pound ovarian cyst. It had 4 liters of fluid. So if you think about that, that's 2 of those large pop bottles. And I had that removed, and at that point, I know it was pretty crazy. So at that point, and I looked about 6 months pregnant when that happened. So I had it removed, and along with one of my ovaries, so from a very young age, started thinking about adoption, which is still a topic that's near and dear to my heart. But I ended up then going back to school the same height that I was, and the same height I am now. I'm 5'2", and I weighed 81 pounds. So then the new rumor was that I had an eating disorder. So at that time, a lot of people had a lot of advice for me that may or may not have been correct. And I remember one day I was going to math class, and my teacher pulled me aside, and she said, "Today in math class," and then she said, "Oh, not you, Sarah. You're going to come over here and eat this cake that I've gotten." So everyone was trying to fatten me up, right? Well, that started my unhealthy relationship with food. 5'2". That started my unhealthy relationship with food. So at the age of 13, I started bringing Slim Fast to school. I know you guys have probably been through the whole thing, but yeah, it's pretty crazy, because I think when we hear this story about people who have always struggled with their weight, they don't often think about it for the girl who was thin. I was never diagnosed, or I don't think diagnosably so, had an eating disorder. I think I had disordered eating, which is a problem for a lot of us. So leading up to, I had an unhealthy relationship with myself, and it manifested in food, but my personal development themes then were, as a teen, very similar to some of my professional issues. I saw these themes being common. So that was in the past what had happened. And then in 11th grade, I had decided that I wanted to be a mental health counselor. And I have a dad who's also a mental health counselor. So I ended up going and studying psychology in my undergrad, studied art, studied theater, and then went on to pursue a master's in counseling with the intention of joining my dad. And I was saying on the blab the other day, but there were some challenges. My dad had some mental health challenges as I was also going into that. So this person who had seen it as a hero wasn't able to join me as I was going through school, and was hoping for his support. So I really started leaning on somebody that I refer to as a mentor, who was actually more like a godmother. She was kind of family to me, but she and my dad had started their private practice in counseling in 1989, so she had been in my life for almost the entirety of my life. And Carolyn took me under her wing as her apprentice when I was out of school. I actually started counseling at her office, Desert Oasis Center, And I thought to myself, I'm going to learn everything I can from this woman. She's so knowledgeable. I want to just study everything she does. I took on her clients as well, and we were counseling together, and it was awesome. We'd have these great talks about theoretical orientation and different implementation we could use in the counseling setting with interventions. And my idea was that I had met my husband, and we were shortly after getting engaged, and the idea was that that I would study with her as long as I could, and then when my husband finished his PhD, I would start working towards my licensure wherever that might be. Well, unfortunately, in 2012, I did lose Carolyn. She was 72 years old. She practiced up till the day she died, and I ended up having to go work at an agency. So anybody who's been in community mental health knows that agency work is what we call being in the trenches. You are down there along with people who have been struggling with mental health their whole lives, and not just their whole lives, but for decades and for many generations. And so I was working at Touchstone Behavioral Health in Phoenix, Arizona for about 2.5 years. I started working towards my independent licensure, and it was pretty awesome, except that I had a huge caseload. I loved the clients that I worked with. I got a lot of self-injury, I got a lot of gender identity issues, a lot of kids who had been removed from their families. I was teaching parenting classes for attachment and trauma. So there was a lot going on at that time. I was learning a ton, but I was really feeling burnt out. The self-care was very difficult, and and there was an apathy with the clients that I was working with who had low socioeconomic status because they were getting their services for free, and not everybody disregarded what they were receiving, but a lot of people were there because they were court ordered. A lot of children were there because their parents had threatened that they were going to go to counseling, and so we didn't always feel appreciated. But it led to a lot of burnout, and I noticed some things about myself that I didn't think were really true to who I was as a person. Having to set a mindset, as I was saying the other day, that 33% of the clients I knew were going to improve in some way. They may not reach the ideal of where they want to be. 33% of clients were going to do the same, and 33% were unfortunately going to see a decline in functionality while they were there. So that was making me quite cynical at that time too. So I started thinking about what was going to happen when I left the field. So I decided that I was going to set a new goal for myself, that my focusing couldn't all be on work, because I know that you guys as entrepreneurs, there's a lot of times that all that focus, exactly, new goals, is on work. And I needed to remove myself from that. I was approaching 30 at the time. I decided that I wanted to set a goal of being a fitness competitor, and I knew that that was going to take a great deal of attention to my mind and body, and that was where I decided that I wanted to try to go. So in the beginning, I had this intention after my husband and I got married in January of 2014 that I was going to do a fitness competition 3 months after the wedding, since I was already getting in shape of the wedding. But to be honest, after planning a wedding, as any of you ladies might know, you are exhausted, and I needed a break. So this is an important part of my story too, is that I needed breaks along the way and time to sit down and reevaluate and assess. Exactly, fitness competition after the wedding. So I ended up going to the gym. I was doing 2-a-days, so I was doing my lifting in the morning, my cardio in the evening, but then I would go to work, and I was working approximately 10 to 12 hour days. I had 68 clients on my caseload, and I would have notes every night. So I was getting very little sleep. Additionally, when I was hungry, I would grab a coffee, and I'd grab another coffee. And even when I meal prepped, I never had time to eat because I was driving between my clients' homes. So that was presenting a lot of obstacles. So my friend had introduced me to a nutritional company that she thought might be a solution because they provided holistic nutrition that would be very convenient for me while I was traveling. And that became something as a vehicle so that not only was I able to start reaching some of my fitness goals, but I was also able to start thinking bigger about what I wanted to do in life. And I started noticing how it was changing my mood, my stress level, because as you guys know, if you have a lot of sugar when you're stressed, you're really not perpetuating or helping any type of stable mood. So, and the odd thing is, and you guys might have noticed this is about doctors too, and chiropractors, is that they will give a lot of great solutions that they themselves might not follow. Maybe you've seen people who are struggling to eat healthy because they don't have the time to do it. So they'll tell you, this is what I need you to do so that you have health success, and yet I don't have time with my kind of schedule to also manage that. Yeah, blossom my soul, blossom your soul. I know that you recognize that too. Yeah. And doctors also don't learn nutrition. So I became very focused on working on my nutrition, and the result was that I felt that I was more effective in my client and counselor interactions. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So in any case, I then, in the next 5 months since I started introducing this nutrition and was doing it with my workouts, I dropped 18% body fat, which was great because prior to this, I was the definition of skinny fat. I was having a lot of trouble to reach the goals that I set, and I didn't want to disappoint myself and the New Year's resolution that I had created. So in November of 2014, I stepped on stage as a bikini competitor for the first time. I posed to Britney Spears because she's my best friend who doesn't know me. and it felt great, you guys. And prior to this, I had really developed a mindset of, I understand now what I need to keep in my body to be healthy. And I understood that the way that I looked on stage was not the way that I was meant to look long term. I always joke that I looked like a piece of beef jerky, and we are not always meant to look like pieces of beef jerky. And so there are people who are long term in the fitness industry, and many of them are doing it for reasons that may be externally motivated. And I think when you sit down and you have a real talk with yourself about your reason for doing things, you find your answers. So I came out of that feeling wonderful. I didn't place, but reality was that my goal was just to step on there and feel like and looked like I belonged with those competitors, and I absolutely felt that way. I was so proud of myself. In doing this, I got signed up to do another fitness competition because I had a friend who wanted to move out from Philly and train with me. So that kind of started me thinking about how I could help others. And during this time, my sister also, in her loving sisterly way, my sister struggled with weight her whole life. She said, "You bitch, what are you doing?" So I started helping her with her nutrition. My sister has since lost 45 pounds, and she came on in November 2014. I started working with her. And my sister, as a religious Orthodox Jew who doesn't dance in front of men, who covers up to sleeves length and long skirts, started becoming a Zumba instructor because she had this incredible confidence. So that confidence kind of mirrored the confidence that I was talking about that I saw with myself. And so my husband moved around this time, right after my first fitness competition. And that was a challenge because during my counseling years in the agency work, I really needed his support at night. But I really needed to work on that goal, like I said, of completing my licensed professional counselor certificate so that I could practice anywhere and so that I could practice without supervision. So that was why I stayed in Phoenix. And it was a challenge, but I, at that time, felt like if I quit then, I would be on mile 22 of a marathon, and the finish line, though far away, was still much closer than it had ever been. So it's interesting looking back about had I stayed in Carolyn's care, my mentor, and continued in private practice, I'm not sure that I would have finished my licensure because I may have moved out here and other things may have happened. So, so I did complete finally my licensure in August of last year, and I finally joined my husband after 9 months of separation, in separation physically, not in a marriage sense, but completed and moved out here to the Bay Area to join him. You hated 22 of the marathon. I know. You can't give up when you're that close. So I decided out here that I was going to really reassess where I was at. I wanted a break from counseling. It's my passion and I will absolutely go back to it. But the goal in being an entrepreneur is that I get to go back to counseling rather than I have to go back to counseling. And I want nothing more than to do that 3 days a week with my own private practice. So I decided to start on a new venture with what I knew about nutrition and what I knew about fitness and what I knew about mental health. And I have now started becoming a personal trainer. The goal eventually is to have boot camps in the park in the area. Although I am training a lot of people, perspective is huge, huge. I am training a lot of people across the continental United States on their nutrition and how to have a healthy relationship with food. I think it's extremely important. And when we're putting in our body the fuel that it needs, we're able to really do the service that it needs so that it can be the optimum miracle that it was meant to be. So, so I've created now something I'm calling Project Potential. Project Potential is health and nutrition solutions for people who are busy. Project Potential is fitness boot camps for those who are local. Perhaps maybe some videos in the future because I do have a Periscope platform of 2,200. And I also am working in a solution-focused mindset of counseling for long-term success. And I love he's not a doctor. I love Bill O'Hanlon. One of the things I love about him is he's not a doctor. He studied with my dad in school and he's really well known. He was a student of Milton Erickson's. And he wrote a book called Do One Thing Different. And I think that's huge. Do one thing different. Something's not working. It doesn't have to be that you're climbing to the top of that summit all at once. Just one step at a time, doing one thing different. What can I change minutely in my life so that I can have a different outcome? And I think it's really important because a lot of us who may struggle with health success, physical fitness, we want to do it all at once. You know, you see somebody who goes in the gym and they've got this mindset of I want to adjust, and they try to do it all at once and they have that burnout like I had with counseling, but it comes so suddenly, and then it leaves a bad taste in their mouth. So my idea about do one thing different is, I love that you guys are talking about bacon, turkey bacon, please, for me. So I love this idea of do one thing different because it's not that we have to do everything all at once, but changing little minute things so that we can develop new habits and form new relationships with ourselves and give ourselves kudos for those small accomplishments that we're capable of. I know a lot of times, looking back on my story and my struggle with food and being afraid of food, that was a huge thing for me, was how is this going to affect my body? And now that I understand my body after having competed, which not everyone needs to do, but I think really starting to develop a healthy relationship with food and understanding what your body needs is something that creates that long-term success because, yeah, Bill O'Hanlon, thank you, Evan, is something that creates that long-term success because we are no longer self-sabotaging. And I know for people on a weight loss journey, hitting numbers on the scale that you wanted to see is big, but sometimes the way that we got there is not sustainable. And I think being able to understand what it is that we need to create a sustainable relationship with food is really big. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Are you not eating meat right now, Grow by Doing? I'm with blossom your soul with that idea of diets don't work. And the first three letters are die, so who wants that? I think diet needs to refer to nutrition in the same way that we talk about the diet of this animal. It's just the foods that we intake to provide us with certain energies. So wanted to share that story with you guys. And so the next venture on Project Potential is finishing my certification and being able to start offering some hands-on boot camps in the park. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I want to take questions at this time because I feel like I've been doing my best to not engage with what's going on. Sure, I would love to speak on the mental health stuff, which I mentioned in Blab. What in particular do you want me to speak on? It is true, mental health is probably, hey Joey Giggles, mental health is probably my strongest of the suits since right now, what work did I do? So I worked with Touchstone Behavioral Health. It was community mental health counseling. And I had clients up until they were 17 and 364 days, and then we'd have to refer them to adult services. But we were state healthcare, and we had clients who were on what we called access, who were at a poverty level that they received services from the state. I had everything from clients who were in who had a juvenile probation officer that required them to be there, to families who were disbarred by child protective services. There was a lot of investment in time that we spent getting teams together for people who were looking for betterment in their lives. And so that was a little bit about what I did there. But I am huge on solution-focused therapy. I think when people first start coming into therapy, my approach was always, okay, let's first of all find a solution for you, and one that's a better coping strategy than the one that you've discovered. And then over time, if you're still here after we've gotten through that, then let's talk about what's going on deep down. What are those family traumas? What can we work on all together? Because environment is huge, as you guys probably know. So that was one of the things that I was doing there. And I think Blossom Your Soul had asked me if there was one thing you could change in the past, what would it be and why? That's a great question. If there was one thing I could change in the past, that's something I need to think on. I really love my past, you guys. One of the things I talk about on Periscope is living your chapter. Living your chapter just means the way that you define yourself at this point in your life, where you are right now, is exactly where you should be. And take the lessons that you can learn in this chapter, because we can't ever go back. We can learn from those previous chapters, but we can't write the ones to come. We're just here existing as we are, and acceptance is huge. That's one of the things that we were talking about the other day also on Blab, being able to accept, and growth is in that acceptance. How do I want to be remembered? Oh gosh, I already hope that I'm remembered as somebody who brings smiles to people's faces. I love to get out there and do things different, like I said, and challenge people's perceptions of the world. And I want to be remembered as a loving mother and daughter and sister, and really an asset to the mental health community. I want to maybe write some books about how I believe that everybody is in therapy for a grievance, that they're grieving something, whether they lost a person or, hey Fabian, just saw you now, whether they lost a person or whether they lost a dream that they had for themselves. I would love to write a book about that one day, and my husband, being a PhD in educational psychology, may hopefully help me to write that book. What does home mean to me? Home means to me anywhere where you feel that you can be most yourself. So that might even be someplace where you're on a spiritual retreat and you're all by yourself. You can really, I know they say home is where the heart is, but I think you're where the heart is. If your heart is in what you're doing, it absolutely will show in every aspect, and it will extend to far reaches. I love that. Love that, you guys. You guys are asking some great questions, and I really haven't given a lot of time to think on these, so I hope I'm providing you guys with value. That's awesome. Yeah, this is a home because you guys find the support here. Did I learn? I missed your question. I'm sorry, Blossom Your Soul. What am I most grateful for? I am most grateful for my health. I think without my health, and I mean health in all sense of the word, mental and physical, without skating video I saw, without your health, you're not really helping others in the way that you hope to be doing it. And so that's huge, is that you guys have to first and foremost focus on you before you can. I think of it as almost like, you know, when you sit on a plane and they tell you you have to put on your oxygen mask before you assist the person next to you. You absolutely have to, because you're not going to be any assistance to them if you are not fully functioning. So I love analogies. If you guys want to check out my Periscope, Evan, if you're on here, my husband, and you can throw up some emojis, throw up some of these. And I'd love to have you guys follow me on my scopes. You say that all the time. Awesome. Awesome. What do you need from your network? I need, if you have anyone that you know who is looking for solutions to excel in wellness, physically, emotionally, mentally, I would love those referrals. There is no greater thank you than you can give to a therapist than a referral. And it's the same with this business. Nothing to me says that you believe in my talents and skills more than a referral, even more than anything else that can be said. So I think that's huge, is letting people know what it is that I'm hoping to do, that I hope to do it also all over the world. And I love consultation. I mean, it's one of the things that I've always been passionate about as a counselor. Thank you for sharing that, Tim. Any other questions I can flag? I feel like I made this very brief today. What's my favorite thing about Parapreneurs? Probably the way that Ricky smells. No, I'm just kidding. My favorite thing about Parapreneurs is that everybody has this growth mindset, and they all want to really just support one another, because at some point we were all doing something that we weren't loving, and we started to dream bigger than ourselves, and we're out there really doing it. And I think one of the things that's wonderful about childhood is that we always dream big because we haven't yet been disillusioned by the world. And I think that there should be no reason we shouldn't also do that as adults. By the time we're 25, we have this prefrontal cortex fully developed to help us with long-term decision making, and that can also be, it can be a fault or it can be an asset. And one of our greatest faults is that we become very fearful of what we're capable of when we felt invincible as children. I said smells. What's the best way for someone to set up a consultation with me? I would love to have somebody reach out to me via Facebook. Is an excellent platform for doing that, because I can also make videos there. I love to have face-to-face conversation, and we can connect that way. I also, they can follow me if they're skeptical about what I'm doing on Snapchat or on Periscope, just because I know people are, I'm a huge skeptic. Before I started changing my nutrition, I was kind of like, I've done it all and there's nothing you can show me. So I think come along for the ride, join me on my social media, and what are my thoughts on teaming up? I think teaming up is excellent. I think we grow together. I think entrepreneurship is extremely difficult to go at alone, because you need to be surrounded by people who have common goals. I mean, studies have shown that we're most successful when we have partnerships with people. And I don't necessarily mean partnerships that you have to form a business together, but creating community. And community has to do with mental health as well. We can't grow to our fullest potential at it alone. We're very limited to the scope of what's going on in here. So that's what I mean by teaming up. It does. It makes the dream work. I saw a really funny meme that said, there's no I in team, and then someone had written a capital A and they blacked out the dot in the middle of the A and underneath, and they said, except for this asshole who found I. It's called masterminding. Exactly. What would I say is my motto? Oh, I would say my motto is, I educate, you decide, I support. I educate, you decide, I support. I would love to be coming to Vegas. I think that it's happening, though, the same month that I'm also there for a bigger, not a bigger, I don't know why I said bigger, for another conference. So I'm not sure that I can make the trip back and forth. I have a lot going on in August, but if I can make it, I would absolutely love to, because Vegas is always a good time, and it's Disneyland for adults. I know I got too technical, right? Just say yes. Well, I hope to create enough momentum with everything that I'm doing that I have the means to do that. Yes, okay, I will be there. I will be there. I have to set that mindset. You're right, you guys. I have to do one thing different, and that has to be starting to say yes more. That's actually something I talked about on my scope just a few weeks ago, so I don't know why that wasn't the first thing I have. Do I have a superhero, and why? That's a tough question, because when I was in grad school, I could have told you it was my dad, but his challenges made it difficult to keep him there. I think, I'm not sure I've met my superhero yet. I had a superhero. She was my mentor and she passed away. But I think my superhero would be anybody who is fully going after anything they truly believe in. They are doing it to better the lives of others. And I think I described Mother Teresa. Yeah, exactly. That is so true. That is so true. So, thank you for getting me there, Killer Smile. You guys are asking some great questions. These are the type of questions I would ask in counseling. So, I'm going to start wrapping this up unless you guys have any more questions. Thank you so much for being here. Going with your gut and intuition is huge. We all have superpowers with that. I don't like saying it's not that important. You saw that on my Facebook. I'm guilty. You caught me on the spot. Yeah. That's awesome. We're going to do an after party. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys so much for being here. I hope I've provided you with value today. My Periscope handle. Evan, if you could throw that up, I would greatly appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you for adding me, Michael. There it is. Boinkin. Thanks, Evan. I'm that bodybuilder there on the right. That is my second competition a year ago. Thank you, guys. And I will probably do one in the future, but we need a break sometimes. Burnout is real, and listen, like we were saying, to your intuition when it comes up. All right, guys. Lots of love. Ricky, thank you for having me. Parapreneurs, thank you for supporting me. I look forward to seeing you guys with questions on project potential, how you can get involved, and how I can help you to have healthy nutrition and fitness and mental health in ways that are convenient for you. All right, guys. Lots of love.